Listening today. This is the Carlson webinar for working with dynamic objects and dynamic editing. We're very pleased today to have Jennifer DeBona of That CAD Girl doing the presentation for us, and we hope that you will enjoy this presentation and get quite a bit out of it. So Jennifer, without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Felicia. Like Felicia said, today's webinar is a Dynamic Carlson. So we're going to be covering a lot, moving from one topic to the next just very quickly here. I'll also mention that for those of you that have not done a GoToWebinar before, Felicia will be answering questions via chat. So on the control panel, usually on the right of your screen, you're going to see a little chat box at the bottom. Felicia will be there throughout the presentation answering those questions. So as we get started, I do just want to take one moment to announce the additional webinars that are coming up here in the next few weeks. So the next one on March 28th, it's another Wednesday, we'll be doing Carlson annotation and labeling. And then on the 29th, we're doing another overview of IntelliCAD. And that will be a redo of the one we did about a month ago. Because we have problems with the recording, we've decided to redo that. We also had problems last week, so we hope we've got that corrected here for this one and hope that it'll get posted up here after the webinar. And then with that, let me also bring up at this time, just real quickly, on the Carlson website at carlsonsw.com, if you go to the website, on the right side, you're going to see the movies icon. And I just encourage you, if you don't or if you haven't in the past, you can find a lot of the archived webinars at this point. Today's webinar, again, is going to be hitting on the dynamic aspects of Carlson. So while I'll be showing some surface creation and editing, this is not going to be a surface modeling class, but you can come here for archived webinars. I'll be showing some LotNet, but it's not a LotNet class. Come here. Same with RoadNet and also with the Hydrology. There are hours and hours and hours, probably hundreds of hours of webinars here available for you to go back and review. So if you haven't taken advantage of that, I would encourage you to do so. And also, I will mention that I have a few boot camp training classes coming up, Columbus, Ohio, Woodbridge, New Jersey, and Chicago, Illinois, here in the next month. So if you are interested in these, I'm calling them a boot camp because we do have some prerequisites, and we will move fast through some of those topics. So if you are interested, you can go to my website, read the announcements, and just find out more information there. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm running, I have crashed my AutoCAD several times this morning, so I had actually forgotten and not gotten back in. So what I'm going to start off with here is opening this drawing. And all I'm showing right now are just some center lines of roads. And I'm going to first look at some surface editing and some surface modeling. Now, I do have a surface created, an existing ground surface behind this. And just as a dynamic viewer, what's kind of neat about this is that I have a surface model created, but I do not have it in the drawing at this time. But that doesn't matter. Carlson Surface 3D Viewer can be used just to go in here and take a look at it. You can see the shading is nice. It's automatically given us a range from red to blue, the highest to the lowest elevations on that surface. We can also exaggerate it just to see what that surface looks like we're going to be working with. Now, once that's we know what surface we're going to work with, I'm going to use the Triangulation Surface Manager and bring that into the drawing. So there's my existing ground you can see. And I'll pick Done. So the contours have been automatically brought in for me on my specified layers. And again, if you have any questions about a lot of these, there's other webinars. I'm skipping a lot of steps just to show you the main points here today. So one thing that we can do, and this is a do as I say, not as I do, not a real good thing to do, is editing surfaces without having a very specific reason to do that. So if you'll bear with me there and understand, I do know you're not supposed to do this normally. But under the Triangulation Surface Manager, we have several surface editing methods that we can do here. So one is swap 10 edge. This also may be called flip face or flip triangles. But if I do a swap 10 edge, I'm just going to zoom in here, and you can see how, for instance, this leg of this triangle is going in that direction. If I left click on it, it will switch. Notice how that surface is changing underneath, and the contours do dynamically update just on picking those triangles and changing it. Again, don't use this as an example of how to fix a surface. But if you do understand flipping triangles, you can go in and make those changes very dynamically, have it update. As soon as I hit enter, it finishes and ends the command. And you can see it leaves those contours in place. The surface has been edited. A couple of others that I can do from Triangulation Surface Manager. If you have a point, again, it's just that easy. Everything's dynamically updated. If I zoom in here, and I don't want to get too close to my road because I will be doing some things there, but if I want to remove that 10 point, I can select it. It's removed it from the surface, and you can see that the contours, again, have been updated and left in place. Another way that we can dynamically kind of heads up edit surfaces is something we'd wanted for a long time. And again, what I'm showing you for this next one, I would encourage you, don't think about doing this. This is a bad thing to do on an existing surface. But think about a proposed surface that you have where you have your break lines in. You may have your points set for a proposed, site plan. But when the contours come in, there's just a little kink or maybe a little hump or a bump in it that you'd like to smooth out a little bit. And it would take, you can add break lines to do that, which again is probably the best way to do it. But when you get down to those very final tweaks, it's more for aesthetic purposes. What you can do too is under the surface menu, Carlson added this, I believe, 2 years ago. You can actually modify contours. Now, in earlier versions of Carlson, again, probably 3 years ago and earlier, we've had modify contours for the longest time. We always called it a very dangerous command because you edited the contours, but the underlying surface was not updated to match that. But we do have that now and have had for the last couple of years. So under Modify Contours, Edit Contours, this is a command that's in both Survey and Civil, and probably some of the other Carlson programs as well. What I'd like to do is just take this little hump out because that doesn't look natural. So, excuse me, I'll pick the contour where I'd like to start the edit, update the triangulation to match the contours, yes. And now I'm just going to sketch in here and then use a nearest O-snap to tie back in. And you can just see how easily that happens. If I change this one for the same reason, it may go like this. I'd probably go straight across, but I do want you to see the changes that I'm making. Maybe snap to the endpoint vertex here, and you can see that that surface has been changed. Now, how can we prove that the surface has been changed? What I'm going to do is actually just manually go in here and erase the contours that are currently in the drawing. and I'll have it draw new contours straight from that 10 file. And now if I draw the contours from the 10 file, that 10 file has been edited with those changes, and you can see that they've been smoothed out, and that's exactly what we wanted there. Again, you know, think of that as a way to do your final tweaks on a proposed surface is going to be your best bet. So with that, let's move into a little bit of road net and road design. So when I start the road network, I've got one started. Again, I'm skipping a few steps here. Go check out the videos to see how I got here. I've really just changed my settings. I've made sure my existing ground surface is set. Excuse me, I'm sick. I had to cough for a moment. But with Carlson's dynamic processes, Carlson gives you a lot of control here. And I'm going to be kind of harping on this through the presentation. In practically every step of doing a road design or anything like that, Carlson will give you an option of how to process the road network in this case when the design files, when the center line or the profile or the template change. And I've got it set right now to prompt. So the three options are prompt, automatic, and then off. And I'm going to just show you these. Automatic, as soon as any of those changes take place, it automatically, I would say, percolates through the design and updates everything. I don't like that. That's fairly dangerous. Something may update that's off your screen that you don't realize got changed. And if you don't know what happened, you may not know that you have to go correct that, or it may create other problems elsewhere. So really the only two I would recommend that you use is prompt or off. So I've got prompt set. I've already got my output options set up so that it'll create a new finished ground surface for me. And so I'll just add a center line by screen picking, and I'll just use this one, and we'll call it Road 1. It will create a proposed profile for me. I'm not going to make any changes to that. I'll accept what it gives me. And then for my template, I've already created that template. So I'll just select that and pick OK and zoom out to where we can see everything. And I always have a habit of hitting the Save button on my road network. That just saves all those settings files and process. And you can see the files, everything's been updated in the drawing. Now, how is that prompt for the dynamic updating going to work for me? Well, let's make a change so that you can see. So I'll just double click on Road 1, and let's make a quick edit to my template. So you can see right here, let me zoom in a bit, that red line that's highlighted is my top of asphalt. If I select any of these, I do see the graphic highlight above. And I'd like to make a change to that grade element. So if I just double click, I can easily change that horizontal distance to something different, 10 feet in this case. And it zoomed back out on me. But you can see that when that changed, I do have this, it's very easy. The subgrade, both subgrade surfaces are tied to that. The curve is tied to that. So everything shifted to accommodate a 10-foot wide asphalt lane rather than the 15-foot that I had originally. So when I pick exit and pick OK to go out of my road, when I pick yes to this, just kind of pay attention to the drawing behind it, and you're going to see the road get narrower. So everything did update dynamically with that. Now, it's not hard if you choose to have this off. Again, really the only two that I would recommend is off or prompt. But I just want to show you real quickly what happens if you have that turned off. So if it's off, I'll go in and I'll make another change to my template. And this time, let's look at our cut and fill slopes. I want something that will be noticeable when it updates in the drawing. My current cut slope is a 2-to-1. Let's make that a 4-to-1. Again, not a great design criteria here, but it will have the effect of making a change in the drawing. And I'll change my fill slope to 5 from 3. But these are going to be, big enough changes. We're going to see it happen when the drawing updates. So I'll just pick OK to that. And notice that I did not get the prompt. And that's fine. If I don't get the prompt, all that means is that I have to go over here where I've got the target on my mouse right now, and hit that process button. So if it's turned off, it just means you have to manually hit that process. So again, very easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back to prompt because I do prefer that. And some of the changes we're going to make, we're going to want to see those automatically update. So my next thing that I'm going to do is let's draw a profile in the drawing. And I'll just add in my proposed ground profile. Notice that we made no changes. We just had it default and create that. But we'll draw it in the drawing nonetheless. We've got draw grid turned on. Notice right here for draw profile, we have the linking of the drawn profile to prompt, again, off, auto, or prompt. It'll draw at a 30 and a 3, and I'll pick OK. Pick OK for that, and I'll just place that in the drawing. Very simple. I've just got one label turned on, nothing real fancy. But now let's update and look at our profile editor. So this is pretty slick. I'm going to move this out of the way a bit. So you can see that when my profile editor is up, as I drag my mouse along the proposed profile, in the drawing there's a little station marker, and so I can see exactly where I am on the plan view while looking at the profile view. And then I can take that one extra step and tell it to show sections. So here all at one time, again, as I move my mouse along, you can see I go from a cut to a fill to a cut, sorry. You can see all three views, plan, profile, and section. In addition, if you notice right up here again where my mouse is targeting, look at my total cut and total fill. So I'm at about 4,300 yards of cut and 2,800 yards of fill. But again, this is a dynamic editor. So if I add a PVI maybe to here, and I'll just throw a vertical curve on that, notice that my total cut and fill automatically updated and changed. So this is real-time earthwork numbers that we're getting for this road. And I've got a low point here, obviously, so let me just put in another PVI and a vertical curve. And again, we can see the updates to the total cut, total fill. For editing, I can just easily drag that PVI up, maybe drag this one down, make sure we've got enough of a roller coaster or a sledding hill, depending on where you are. So in order to get out of this, I have to close the section editor. I've changed my profile, so I need to make sure to hit save and then exit. And when I pick OK to get out of the Edit Road dialog box, we turn that prompt back on, so that has changed. We'll pick yes, and it automatically updated my profile. And now I'm going to reprocess my road to see those changes incorporated here. So again, to me, this is a very straightforward design process. It designs like we do if we were on paper, I think. So let's add another road in here, and I'll just add my road 2 and call it road 2. Again, keep just the default profile. It's automatically assigned the same template, which is fine for what I'm doing. Notice that as soon as I did that, it automatically added an intersection. So again, I think this is probably a dynamic feature is that you don't have to manually add intersections. As long as your drafting shows a geometric intersection, Carlson will find it here. So I'll process that. You can see it's automatically put our fillets. Let's look at what else we can get in that intersection. So just like we did with our road, when we create an intersection, it gives us 2 tabs because we have 2 intersection corners. And just like in roads, we have a full profile editor around that intersection. So I don't know if I can make a change big enough here. Yeah, let's go up. And when I make that change, I'll pick OK. Process, we'll see the contours change in here a bit. We get the same and even a little more control when we add a cul-de-sac to the end. So I'll add cul-de-sac to the end of road 2 with a 45-foot radius at the bulb and then 25-foot fillets going in. Again, I've added something, so I'll hit process. And you can see everything automatically graded. I can go in and set that to be a full left or a full right. And as soon as I hit process, it updates that to match the design that I want. Now, Carlson also just has built in some slick grip editing tools for this. Now, all I did was erase a break line that had been drawn so that when I left click here, I can pick that underlying 2D polyline that the center line was created from. So I can just drag that. Notice it's recognizing that the center line of road 2 has changed. Do I want to reprocess the road network? Now, if I'm just kind of fooling around here, maybe I don't want to process right now. Maybe I did that accidentally and I wanted to move it to the left or to the right. But I will go ahead and process this. And there's my crash. Okay, great. I have no idea. Let's go ahead and try to save it. Well, AutoCAD 2013 is due out sometime, so we'll see. Hopefully some of that will be fixed. So let me go in. Let me open that thing up again. I don't think I picked it. Okay, so I'm back. I got it. Let me just do a quick save here and open up. I think I'm kind of done with road network anyway, but we'll just go back in. I'll just reprocess here just to make sure the drawing's updated. All right, so let's move on just a little bit. Let me isolate a few things. Or actually, let me free some of these layers because I want to move in and just show a little bit on the hydrology. I can freeze those layers as well. All right, so what I want to do is start off with some hydrology. So I'm going to switch over to, and actually let's look at this first because I had kind of glossed right past this. But this is the finished ground 10. It was there before, but it was updating it as we went. So here's our finished ground surface that it was creating for those roads. So you can see that the cul-de-sac is in there, the left offset for the cul-de-sac. So when I create my hydrology, when I set my rim elevations, I want it to be based on this surface. So I just wanted to confirm that was there. Looks like we're in good shape. And I will switch over to the hydrology module. So when I go to network, again, I have just a couple things set up in the background, mostly just settings. And actually, I don't. I thought I had. So I'll create a new one, and we'll call it Sand Sewer 1. And the surface file that I want to pull from is going to be that finished ground surface. Okay. Link sewer network to reference centerline, surface and centerlines. So again, I've got this set to prompt. Again, you see this coming up in most features. So what this means is that I'm going to put my sewer manholes in here. I'm going to do it at the center line so it's easy to get that elevation. We can see whether it's done it correctly or not by comparing it to our profile. And then when I raise or lower the center line profile, we're going to get prompted for the rim elevations to change, whether we want the rim elevations to change. So again, I'm going to auto-connect the structures. I've actually got that turned on. So as I add one structure to the next, going upstream to downstream, it will go ahead and put a pipe and show a pipe between those. No drainage here. The pipe, you can see I've got my minimums and maximums already set. And that's all I need here. So under network, I'll create a sewer structure. And I'm just going to zoom in and snap to the endpoint. Didn't take. Let's try that again. The endpoint here. And you can see my rim elevation is set at finished ground elevation there at 602.83. And I'm going to pick add. And by pick point, just kind of move up the street. Snap to a nearest, just get it right on the center line. And again, it's put that in right at my surface elevation. I'll just do one more. And pick here. And we'll close this and save the changes. And now what I'd like to do is have that as a profile brought in over here. So I'll go to network, draw sewer network, and create a profile for it. I think I crashed out of that. All right, I think I'm going to have to do that again. I think I got out of it bad. Try one more time. Okay. Pick add to add my next one. And my third one here. Hit save, and that should get it. Now, we've got our labels in the drawing, so I think we're in good shape. Draw sewer network. Again, I'm going to go to profile. Good. So my upstream structure is manhole 1, going to manhole 3. I will save this to a profile file. And then I'm also going to link the profiles to the sewer network. So what that means is once I draw the profile, the sewer profile here, if the center line of the road changes, that makes my rim elevations change. It'll prompt me for that, and it'll prompt me again to draw it in the drawing. And I will set the stationing by my center line of the road for this sewer profile. So I'll call it SAN 1. This is M1 to M3. And notice I've got draw grid turned off, and that's because I've already got a grid in the drawing that I want to draw it on. So at the command line, it's prompting me to select a center line file. So type CL, and that's road 1. Draw on existing grid. And then I just pick any entity on it. And you can see that it's set those rim elevations right at the surface. So now let's see what happens when that road net changes. So we should get some, again, some changes percolating down through the design. So if I switch back to civil, back to roads, and let's see where we are on this. So what I want to make sure to do is make a change that you can see that right at that intersection, so the two vertical lines tell me where the edge of pavement is of Road 2 coming in and adjoining Road 1. So if I change the PVI and just pull that down and make that quite a bit flatter, I've changed what my rim elevation should be now because the centerline profile changed. And I pick OK. Update the draw profile. So do I update my sewer here? Yes. Sorry, that was just the profile. Now I have to process here for those road changes to come in. And this is my reference surface. So this is saying these are the new elevations of the rim elevations for manhole 1, 2, and 3. That's the new top elevation. I want to update the sewer depth. So that's what we want to make sure, that it holds that top elevation, drops it, or raises the depth as necessary. Now my sewer network's changed. I want to update yes to all. And pick that again. And you can see, we don't have a whole lot of freeboard there. But again, that's kind of how everything ties together. Everything's set to prompt. You can set it to automatic if you want. Again, it may end up updating things you didn't really intend. So with that, I think that's all I wanted to show in RoadNet and hydrology. I'll just make sure to save this when I get out. I'll leave the drawing open. I'm going to show you just a little bit in LotNet. Again, how some of that can be dynamically updated. And then we'll go to questions if Felicia's got any there. So here I've just got a subdivision boundary. I've already got the center line and the rights of way drawn in. For those of you not familiar with LotNet, again, I'd encourage you to go see the old movies that are out there. You can do this without having, anything other than a center line in here. But again, I've shortcut that just a smidge to save a little time. So I do have a LotNet file already set up, again, just with some settings that we'll look at here. So automatic label updates is turned on here. Labeling the areas. Building placement, I am going to put my building pads, draw my building pads in here, and I've got a 30-foot wide, 30 feet deep. I can change that if I need to. And then pick OK. I'll set the boundary, and then I need to also just tell it the polylines that represent the right-of-way here. So that being done, I can start setting in lots. So I'll use this button for subdivide area. And it's just looking for an area that has bound either that is completely bound either by the boundary or right-of-way. So my minimum lot area is going to be 15,000 square feet. I've got a minimum frontage. You can see my front setback. I forgot to mention in the last box, I had told it, I think, to draw set. Let me make sure. Oh, no, actually, I do want it to draw setbacks. So you can see the setback distances that I've established. So good that I went back. So I'll pick inside the lot. Again, there's my frontage setback, and it's using that setback 20 feet off of the right-of-way in order to establish that 70 foot of minimum frontage. Got a few other settings that will check the building placement for me. It highlights the right-of-way, and it's asking at the command line, where do I want to start? Do I want to start at this end, or do I want to start over here? So I'll just pick up here. You can see the lots getting placed, setbacks have been drawn. lot labels have been inserted. Some formatting, we got some formatting problems. But you can see the building placement has been made and put in here. Now, what if things change? So, for instance, what if I don't like that lot? So if I just go up, there are again special buttons to remove lot edge, and I just pick that line. You can see what happened. It automatically made a combination lot. And maybe I'd like to see what happens if I go from the end here and go perpendicular to that arc, which is a radial. And now I'd like to have that be my new lot line. I'd like to see how that gets placed. So there's a button right here for adding a lot edge, and just pick that here, and everything there automatically updates. So we were able to just barely fit that in, maximize it. Something else I may choose to do is maybe I want to reconfigure this whole area, and maybe I want a little larger lots back in there. So I can also just do a remove lot edge, and maybe I just select all of these. Oops. So now that they're gone, it combines all these, shows me what the lot number is, the acreage, and then I'm going to pick that re-subdivide, or re-subdivide it. Pick here, and maybe I'm going to go with 18,000 square feet lots. Start drawing from here, and I end up with something like that. So again, a lot of dynamic updating, a lot of easy changes. With something like this, you get down to, you let the computer do as much as possible for you with that. Take this entire area, get as many 15,000 square foot lots as you can in there. Then you go back in and you tweak and you say, I don't like this little cluster of lots, let's erase that, try it again. And then when you get down to each individual lot, maybe you just don't like the way this lot is, you'd like to add a bend point right here and bend it back and make that a little cleaner. You've also got the buttons where you can add a lot edge point. So what I can do is select that and just snap maybe a nearest here. And then now that that'll bend for me, I can actually just grab this little guy, change him back to here, and then as soon as I hit enter, you can see my square footage here changed, all my setbacks updated. So again, a good dynamic response there. So we're about 40 minutes in. I think we're kind of good for any questions that may have come along. Felicia, how are we doing?
Well, currently we don't have any questions, so obviously your presentation's been quite clear and easy to follow. If anyone does have questions, there is a chat. Whoops, we do have one that just popped up. Question, does auto-processing occur only within RoadNet, or will RoadNet update if I change the centerline from the centerline menu? The way it's set up is you can make edits anywhere else. If you do not see RoadNet update, you will have to reprocess it. So when she was going through and making sure to click that process button after making changes, that is the best way to do it. There is a way to auto-process. However, it may get a bit exciting within your drawing as you're making changes everywhere else. We did have one other question. Let's see if I can bring this up here. In the dynamic earthwork feature in the road profile, is there any way to allow for stripping volumes? Would you like to take that one, Jennifer?
Stripping volumes, would you just do that through SiteNet? Is that the best way?
Well, there's actually a couple different ones. They don't have it in the RoadNet feature. Depending on
well, you can do topsoil removal.
Yeah, you can do the topsoil removal.
That's what they're asking. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's exactly the one. Why don't you go ahead and show the topsoil removal?
And we'll just go from been a long time since I've done this. Let's see. In fill, you can set it up for difference in fill areas. So if we want to just strip out 1 foot and, all right, Felicia, help me here.
Okay.
Replace half a foot and just do that the same across.
And that would be depending on whether you're dealing with cut or fill areas.
Right, yeah.
And then you'll want to set a starting and ending station for this, depending on the road. It looks like you haven't selected an alignment this is applying to.
Well, yeah, I did it in road 1.
Okay, so you can go ahead and click OK.
Well, I'll set that to 800 for right now. I know it's about 800 feet.
Okay.
And again, I would say we're going to do our best here, but I would say if this may be in one of the movies that's been done previously, this gets a little more into the depths of RoadNet than we'd planned to cover today. But let's look at that. So when we're stripping, it's taking into effect what's going to change here. So let's make that change. My mouse battery's dying if you've seen really crazy movement from my mouse today too. And we should have checked this before, but we should get, again, we're getting some removal and replacement here for this road, but I'm not sure that we did everything that we should have done there. But again, here are the very detailed earthwork numbers that you can see. It breaks it out along the road. It breaks out intersections separately. You can see here, let's see, it breaks out the cul-de-sacs separately. So yes, stripping can be done, whether I can, whether I'm the one to show you right now or not. But yes, it can be incorporated differently on each road.
Okay, 2 more questions then, jumping all over the place.
Yep.
Next one, how do I update the pipe profile if I've clicked no on Update Draw Profile? So
I think you would just, so when it says that, you would just go back in and draw the sewer network and then draw profile again. So for instance, let's say that I said no to that. I don't think any changes have been made here. But when I pick OK, profile to right, I'm going to overwrite what I had before. And then when I draw, it's asking to erase the existing profile, yes. You see that go away, and then just pick the new grid that it wants. Oh, sorry, center line. Not taking that. Okay, let me try that again. Okay, so we'll replace that, pick OK, and I'll try to learn to watch my command line like I tell everybody to do, and draw on existing grid, pick here, and that's how you would do it, unless Felicia knows of a different way.
I don't believe that there is an automated way to do that. I believe
Right.
that is the best way. Okay, next question. There's been a couple more popping up. Can lot lines be dragged to adjust configurations? So they're looking for a drag and drop lot editor as opposed to...
Like in here, you mean?
Yes.
Other than doing something like this, oh my goodness, which should not create a fatal error. I'm not sure what happened. But just strictly doing a drag and drop with grips, no. To my knowledge, there's not.
Okay.
I am totally locked up.
Well, we'll go ahead and
try to answer.
Yeah, I'll talk about some of there's 2 more questions right now. What's the best way to draw a complete storm profile if I have lateral catch basins on each side of the road? Asking about this. This is, do I have to create a profile for the main run and for each lateral? In this case, is there a way to keep a structure with a lateral that can be drawn and labeled twice?
Are you asking me?
No, no. Well,
okay.
I mean, that is the question. There's actually 3 questions in here. And for this one, I believe that you absolutely must have a profile for the main run. But for each lateral, if you're adding full catch basins on the end of that, I believe you can do that without having to have a profile for each one. However, it will be drawn on the main run profile. So some of your elevations, you'll have to, I don't want to say take them with a grain of salt, but you do have to realize that the elevations that will be shown will be relative to the main run, not necessarily to the existing ground at the point for each lateral. But using the sewer net, you shouldn't have to create a profile for each one if what you're trying to do is to generate your main run profile, showing those locations. I believe that is exactly what you're asking. And then the last question was on the intersection editor, how do I know which intersection is front and which is rear? It's going in station order.
Yeah, I'm still having trouble here. So
That's no problem. The other nice thing about the intersection editor is, like the profile editor that was shown at the very beginning of the presentation, there will be graphic tooltips out in the drawing file. So as you go ahead and pick those different tabs for, front, rear, left, and right, you will also have the graphics in the main CAD window showing you exactly what it is you're working on. So if you're unsure how all that relates to station order, but lowest to highest is typical, you can always take a look at the CAD window to see what the graphics are doing. Okay, well, that looks like all the questions have been brought up. What I'm going to do is go ahead and save these questions and forward them on to our development and tech support team. So if there's more detailed answers necessary, since we do have names associated with these, we should be able to have someone get back to you on this. I'd like to thank Jennifer for her time today, showing us some of these new tips and tricks with how this CAD works. I'll stay on the line for the next 10 minutes or so, as she will, so if you do have further questions, feel free to go ahead and put those up. But we'll go ahead and wrap up the formal part of the presentation. Once again, thanks for attending, and you should be getting a survey that will allow you to give us feedback on what we can do and what other presentations you'd like to see. Jennifer, anything else you'd like to say?
No, just again, I think everybody should be seeing, again, the webinars coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Just as a reminder there, and then upcoming training. So if anyone's interested, let us know.
Okay, well, thanks for your time. Like I said, I'll be sticking around for a little while to address any further questions. So for example, one that just popped up, can lot numbering be reversed? So for example, if you have lots 1 through 50, can you reverse them to 50 to 1? Jennifer, I'm not sure if you've muted your phone, but if you are speaking on top of this.
I was.
Okay.
Yep, I had muted my phone, but I was explaining away there. So.
Okay, basically she was using the renumber tool to go ahead and do that. It's not an automatic tool. What you would do is basically, as she was showing on the screen, you would indicate what number you wanted to start from. in that case, you probably, if you wanted to redo from 1 to 100, start with number 1, and then just use that fence tool to indicate what order those lots would go in. So it's not a one-click reverse tool, but something like that.
Right.
I do believe this webinar will be available for download. We have been recording this, and it should go up on the website that Jennifer had presented earlier.
Yep, right back in here. So you may have to go to, I'm not sure where they'll stick it, probably under Carlson Civil. It just may be under the strictly Carlson too, though. So, but I think that's it. So appreciate everyone's time, and we will follow up on questions that went unanswered.
Okay, once again, thanks for everything, and thank you once again, Jennifer.